Hello, Protrusive. I'm Giles Galati, and welcome to this really important interference cast on how we, as a profession, can be greener. The time is now. It's right now. We take some massive action in our profession throughout the world so we can have a better future for our children and our children's children. Guys, I hope this episode makes Greta Thunberg proud. I'm joined today by Dr. Mike Gow and Marcus McLeod, who basically have started this initiative, this free initiative for us all called Net Zero Dentistry. I think it's a great idea. I'm fully in support of it. I want you to listen to this episode so badly so that you can implement something. Like, for example, when I recorded these gents, I made a promise to walk to work every day. So it doesn't have to be just like purely dental, reducing plastic, which obviously we're going to cover all that in this episode. What we can do at the workplace to be greener, even thinking outside the box. But what can we do in our lives? Having a meat-free day, walking, being mindful of our energy consumption. All these things are so important. So yes, this is dentistry. It's very relevant to dentistry and how we can be, as a profession, greener. But just you personally as well. Hope you find value in this episode. If you do, share it with someone. Okay, now is the time to spread positive messages for the environment like this one. Anyway, I'll catch you in the outro. Marcus and Mike, welcome to the Protrusive podcast. How are you, gents?
Thank you very much.
Very well, thank you.
Amazing to have you both on. Recently, I was at the BACD conference in Edinburgh. Mike, I was able to reconnect with you. And on that same evening, we were discussing about Net Zero Dentistry. I thought this is amazing. I want to give this a voice. I want to get people to start talking about how we can be more green. And obviously, recently with COP26, everything's very topical. We shouldn't have to wait for it to be topical to have these kind of discussions. But here we are. It's a start. And also on the same evening, just a slight little tangent, but on the same evening, I also met Jeremy Cooper, and he was talking about confidential and the mental health aspects of dentistry and the sad areas, the dark areas of suicide and all these horrible things, depression. And I decided that night that, okay, I'm going to leave Edinburgh with a reconnection with Mike and a new connection with Jeremy. And I definitely want to support that charity. And of course, we're talking about Net Zero Dentistry. Mike, we know you already a little bit. We'll get you to do an introduction shortly. But Marcus, I know less about you. Marcus, tell us about yourself, how long you've been practicing for, what your niche is, what your areas of dentistry are.
Well, I haven't been practicing anything. I've been practicing life for the past 60 years. I'm not a dentist.
Amazing, even better.
Well, no, perhaps not. I come from a banking background and changed direction about 20 years ago. So during the past 6 years, we've been building up a portfolio of dental websites. We've got the leading listing clinic websites in the UK, de facto dentists. We've got about 8,000 clinics on there, I think it is at the moment.
Amazing.
We have an e-commerce platform for dentists, whereby we do the fulfillment, transaction, the delivery as patients order from their dentist. We also have first to market video interviewing on our recruitment website. So
brilliant.
We're embedded in the dental profession, and we provide really meaty, juicy, right-on solutions for them.
Fantastic. Well, it'll be great to borrow both your expertise today. Mike, great to have you back on the podcast. We obviously talked about anxiety management before, and you taught us so many amazing things and how you were involved in that experience of placing an implant without local anesthetic. So if anyone hasn't heard that episode, please go back, listen to it. There's some great communication gems in there. Just remind us, for those maybe who are listening to you for the first time, haven't listened to that episode, whereabouts you are, what you do, and then both of you together, what makes, I mean, Marcus was talking earlier about there's no true expert in this, but what makes you guys passionate to be able to talk about Net Zero Dentistry? So yeah, Mike, go first, my friend.
Sure, yes. So my name is Mike Gow. I am a dentist. I own a private practice in the centre of Glasgow. Really, ever since qualifying, my main passion and interests were helping anxious and phobic patients. So I've studied over the years a variety of techniques, including sedation and, interestingly, hypnosis. So I have a master's in hypnosis applied to dentistry. So now working in private practice, I see lots of anxious patients. I help patients with bruxism using the psychological aspect of that. So I'm excited to be joining you on your Splint course. That's going to be another string to my bow as far as that's concerned. And just enjoying the work that I do. Now, Marcus actually is my cousin as well, believe it or not. So we are friends, we are cousins, and we work together. So
amazing.
Every morning we have phone calls, and every night on the way home from work we have phone calls as well. And really we talk about the hot topics of the day. What sort of things could we be looking at? How can we help the profession? What can we do for the businesses that we have? And recently we started talking about the amount of plastics and the amount of clinical waste, the amount of pollution that's caused by dentistry. I think it was the end of a particularly long session. I looked at my clinical waste at the end of the day, and I just felt really disheartened by how much I was throwing away. And the conversation started from there, really. But you're right. We are, I am certainly no expert in green or net zero. But that's kind of what I like about it, because I don't think this should be an exclusive club where you have to be an eco-warrior to be able to make your difference. So we're pretty good at coming up with strategies and plans. And over the last month or two, that's what we've done. And Marcus is the brains behind it, and he'll tell you more about it. I come up with some of the ideas, and then Marcus makes them happen. That's how it works.
Well, tell us about the implementation, Marcus, and what ideas you have generated so far before we then talk a little bit about in daily practice, the challenges you face, all the single-use stuff, all the packaging that we use, and these are the real frustrations that we have. But tell us any ideas and directions that you find could be fruitful in managing this, Marcus.
Okay. Well, when we decided to approach this initiative, we wanted it to be free to use. So we didn't want to charge dentists to get involved in something. So it's a not-for-profit entity. We set out 4 pillars of understanding. The first pillar being awareness. COP26 has been brilliant in actually making people aware of all the issues that are going on in the planet just now. And we've had feedback, people saying, well, it's China, it's India, they're polluting the world and it's their fault. The fact that I use a single-use TP brush, that's not going to make a difference. But we do. We know that one small step makes a difference. You're taking one small step towards this better world that we're trying to create. That's all it is. It's very simple, very basic. Mm-hmm. So the awareness side is getting people engaged with Net Zero Dentistry. The second side is an assessment. Now, we've gone to great trouble, time, cost, whatever else, putting together an assessment whereby clinic principals or those engaged with the work in the clinic can assess where they're at the moment. And it's not a judgment document to make somebody bad, somebody good. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose is to set a mark in the sand so that 12 months down the line, practices can actually see, well, I've actually made a difference during this 12 months.
Yeah, kind of like an audit process. That's our idea, was it's almost like a net zero audit. How are we now?
This is something that should be really, this should be like made part of the CQC. Like every practice should be made to do this. Wouldn't that be wonderful in terms of enforcement of policy to assess how green you are? I mean, that's the kind of future we should be looking at. Just while we're on this topic, how can a dentist who's maybe listening already and thinking, okay, yeah, I mean, the only dentist who's listening to this is someone who cares about the environment and saw this title come up, How to be Greener, Net Zero. And so we have the attention of dentists who have at least some care and some dedication. So how can they download or access this audit tool so they can get started straight away with their team Monday morning?
If you make it Tuesday morning,
by the time this episode comes out,
listen, the paint is still wet on the website. So
by the time this comes out, I'll make sure I time it in a way that the resource is ready, because I want people to strike while the iron's hot. They'll be enthused, hopefully, after getting some ideas from you guys, and I want them to log in, download it, get it into their practice, start doing the audit. This is going to be the thing that's going to start the engine, get things going.
Great. The website is ready now, but as I say, the paint is wet. We're still going revising and tweaking.
No, well done to both of you for setting up this not-for-profit organisation to help such a huge topic. So amazing. We've got awareness, we've got this audit tool. What else?
The third pillar is the education platform. And this is what's taken all the time and effort to put together. We have an education platform with 26 modules in it. Now, these modules are being generated by experts in that one field. So we'll have 26 authors, if you like, in the education module. And those are perhaps dentists, practicing dentists, who have gone through a process. They understand how to better that process. They'll write up the 500 words, and that's an education module. So it's really to match up with your weaknesses from your assessment. You see, I've got a gap there. That's the learning bit that will slot into the gap. Yeah. The fourth bit is an offset program. And we're not quite there yet with an offset program. But collectively, the dental profession has much greater power than me or you as an individual saying, I feel guilty, I want to buy my way to heaven, I want to buy some carbon offset. Yeah, we're making sure that the 3 steps prior to that are followed through before they even consider offset. So unless they've gone through the assessment, unless as a result of the assessment, they put the sustainability section into their operations manual, we must have that in the ops manual. It must, yeah. So beyond that, the education modules, when they've read through all the education modules, then they consider offset. And the way we've approached offset is that if we're gathering money, a pot, on behalf of the profession, we've got to be really, really careful what we do with that money. If we make a mistake, and it's so easy to make a mistake in that field, that area. Mike and I had the discussion with someone who sounded entirely plausible, looked like a blue chip company. It was absolutely spot on, and we were engaging. So we were setting up the terms and everything else, and we asked repeatedly, and where does this money, how is it used? And it turned out that money was going to be used to pay people in the Amazon forest not to chop down trees.
Okay.
Yeah. All of a sudden we thought,
interesting.
There's the alarm bells. There's the alarm bells. So what we have put together so far is gold certified through the Forestry Commission, gold certified carbon offset, whereby every single tree that we don't purchase trees, we only buy offset. So every single tree has an offset, and it has varying different offsets. So we buy a patch of trees, if you like, that has the offset. We buy the offset. That money is then used to replant trees. And that's what the gold certification kind of basically is all about.
But like you said, that's a very much not last resort, but like something that is a hierarchy, and that's the very small part. The foundations are very much the awareness, the education, like you said. I think.
Yeah, and the offset it's an involvement as well. So we decided that, for example, organising 2 days in next year to do beach combing. As a profession, we go out there into the countryside, into country parks, onto beaches, and we gather plastic and dispose of it properly.
Amazing.
Now, that's something that doesn't cost money in terms of contribution or anything, but it's something that we want to be involved in and build.
You talk about the mental health element of dentistry just now, and team building. I had to do this with my daughter as part of a school project recently, and we went to a local park, and I thought there's not really a huge amount of litter here, but we've got to fulfil the project. And we got our bin bags, and we started going around with our litter pickers, and at the end of it we had about 3 or 4 full bags of plastic, of cans, of everything, of glass bottles, and we stood there feeling proud as punch that we'd made a difference to this play park. So it'll be a great motivational tool, it'll make a difference, and it'll be a great team building exercise as well.
I think, team building, everyone should bring their whole team, the nurses, the associates, the neighbour practices, make a social occasion of it. Let that be in the Sun and the Daily, the Times and the Daily Mail and that kind of stuff. Forget the other nonsense. This is the kind of stuff that we should be promoting and should be at the forefront to show that we care, because we generally do. We see on the Facebook groups all the time, us dentists moaning about how much plastic there is. Let's now take action. That's a great initiative. I wouldn't have thought of that. It sounds wonderful.
Well, we're trying to think outside the box. It's easy for any company to set up and say, right, do the assessment, therefore pay this every month, and that's you clear. But that it doesn't create anything. There's zero impact with that other than someone's wallet being less full than it was. Really what we're after is the effect of what we're doing by reducing single-use plastic, by looking at how we carry out treatments using some gases, removing amalgam fillings, the whole gambit. And that's not necessarily going to change the world tomorrow, but it'll have that small step towards it.
Yeah, it's a change. It's a change of attitude as well, of course, and so somebody has to, as you say, draw the line in the sand and say, right, we need to change, and that's what audit is all about. It's about recognizing this is an issue. If we don't change this, the coming generations are just going to keep doing the same thing. And we look at greenness and being environmental, and somehow we look at it outside of our practice because we justify it by it's single use, it's a clinical area. We can't do anything about it. We can, we can lobby manufacturers and say, look, see the little plastic micro brushes? Can we get them made of bamboo or something else? I looked at my tray the other day and it was like somebody had lost a game of kerplunk or something. There was this pile of plastic sticks, and I'm like, there's 40,000 dentists in the UK. I've just used 10 of them in a big case. That's almost 500,000 plastic brushes if we're all using 10 a day. Wow. That's a lot of plastic.
The scale is huge. We've known for a long time, and so it's great we're having these conversations. How can we, obviously this is spreading awareness through mediums like this and getting people involved. It's about making it international as well. Do you know if any other countries are have any similar initiatives, and if we can learn something from them?
We looked so that we could copy. If there are experts out there, and this is where we discovered there aren't any experts,
please reach out if you're listening because you clicked on and you saw the title green and it spoke to you, and you're working in a community in dentistry and you have some ideas. Reach out to Marcus and Mike because they're on something here and they want to promote it. So I'm sure you'd welcome that, gents.
No, I was just going to say we launched and we have a steering group. So part of what we need to do is draw in people. We're not in competition with anyone. If anyone is doing something, we want to embrace that because this is knowledge and ethos that has to be shared. This can't be owned by anyone. We don't own Net Zero Dentistry. We are just helping provide the platform that will hopefully bring all of it together. So we want people, if you've got projects, you've got things you're doing, come on board. Let's all do this together. That's the idea.
Have you both seen this company that does aligner recycling? Now, I don't know if there's multiple of these companies or there's just one. There's one that I recently saw, and I think my practice inquired, and my practice had to say that, it's a bit out of budget in terms of doing it. So I don't know how much it costs, but my principal sort of decided, okay, yeah, we don't do enough in this line, and the cost is too high to justify, although we'd like to do it because part of the values of the practice is to be greener. Any ideas of how we can reduce the costs of practices getting involved in that so we can recycle aligners?
Yeah, collectively, that would be the lobby group that would go to the aligner group, and to Philips have engaged quite considerably in saying we know that we're pumping plastic out and through the profession into the patient base, but that can be averted. We'll have a refund system almost, gather back in the replacement heads. So yeah, there are firms now setting up and taking attention and doing something about it. But collectively, as opposed to individually, if you individually go to that aligner company and say, that's a wee bit too heavy, the price, but if there's 8,000 dentists going towards them and saying, look, this is the price we want to deal at, then it makes sense.
Mike, were you going to say something? Sorry.
I'm not sure. It was probably something really important. No, you're true. But again, I think, this is where it gets complicated. You need the experts, because there's one thing to have a green ethos and to want to be doing green things, but it's also then looking at, what is the thing that I'm doing and what impact does that have? So, recycling aligners, how much of a carbon footprint is there actually getting the plastic back to wherever it's being recycled? All those kind of questions have to be asked and looked at as well. And I know, because that's a general issue in everyday household plastic recycling as well. So, again, we're looking at creating the forum to have all of these discussions, and hopefully come up with solutions. And we've had brilliant engagement with people that have said, look, I'm passionate about this. I want to be actively involved. In fact, one of the great little things we've got here is trying to reduce meat. And we came up with one of these smart, and we know each little idea is not going to cure the problem, but they all have their impact. And, we had this idea of meat-free Mondays. calling them dental dinners, where everybody in the profession agrees, to have 1 or maybe 2 meat-free days a week. And we put a thing saying, if anyone's got any meat-free recipes or ideas, that it'd be great to have them. And that's one of the things that we've been swamped with. We've had loads and loads of people contacting us with those, and again, that's going to engage people and be fun, and it's going to be good.
Is there any low-hanging fruit that you've had to think about that you think, actually, we're already doing this, and you recently found out that actually other practices aren't doing this? Is there any quick wins that you could share with us today that people can go away listening and think that, oh yeah, I can easily make that change on Monday morning to make my practice more green?
I think probably one of the things that I hadn't, thought about massively until Marcus started talking about it was just the energy bill at the practice. You even as a practice owner, things are on timers. There's an energy bill that comes in, but it's not something I just considered that as a necessary cost to the practice. But it didn't really. I didn't really have the full impact of the environmental cost of that. So I think there are ways that I can be more clever with regards to the use of energy within the practice, the heating bills, the energy usage, that type of thing. So, Marcus said to me, he asked the question, he said, Mike, what's your energy bill every month? And I said, I've got no idea. I don't know. Someone else deals with that. I don't know. I don't know what my energy bill is. And I should know, because I should be aware of how much we're using and how much that could come down. And that would be massive. Some simple changes in how and when the heating's coming on could instantly make a massive difference to your net zero goals.
If all the practices reviewed that just one thing, again, it makes a little a ripple, doesn't it, in the ocean? Marcus, anything to add in terms of any ideas you've had so far in terms of quick wins that we can do, not necessarily as dentists, but as humans, but anything in the dental setting that we could look at as well? Yeah,
if I could outline briefly, and one of the groups that we were talking to tried to implement a sustainability module in their ops manual. They wrote a document about this size and thumped it down on every clinic's desk. 6 months later, absolutely nothing had been implemented. So they approached this with the 1% gains. What can we do just now, just to make a small difference? So they started planting wild flowers outside the clinics so that bees came in. There was cross-pollination happening. The food chain started to thrive. Unprovable, but that in theory is what would happen. They then extended that and started to put beehives on top of the clinics. So the bees were feeding off their own wildflowers.
Is this in the UK?
This is in the UK. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So by taking these small steps, and people who opposed the green thing, the eco thing, because everyone that's green or eco are strange. And they said, well, that's really nice having flowers outside. It's really cool having bees up on the roof. It's really cool us looking at paper and recycling that paper. I get it now. So all of a sudden, 3 steps have been taken towards this net zero dentistry. And it might take 5 years, it might take 10 years, it might never happen. But the net zero dentistry thing is a case of very small steps. So by bringing in a plant to put in the waiting room and have that plant give out oxygen, that's one small step towards this net zero. You're offsetting by doing that. So there's one small step for Monday morning.
Great. Well, in dentistry, we're so used to having instant gratification that when it comes to this, we're going to have to really think a bigger picture. We're going to have to think infinite games. We have to think really beyond generations. And so that needs to be a very important part of our mindset as we approach that. Jets, that's the main sort of core of wanting to cover. Are there any messages that you want to share, to leave dentists with so that they can now act on it? Obviously, I'm going to share the website. They can hopefully then download the audit process, get involved, sign up to a newsletter that you guys are going to provide. That would be wonderful. any other important messages regarding being greener in dentistry?
I think so. I think, obviously, yes, we should all be greener for the sake of the planet and the environment. But if you engage and you do this, you're going to save money. Okay. And we look at the bottom line in dentistry. We look about our profits at the end of year. You will have more bottom line profits if you follow Net Zero Dentistry and follow the stuff that we're going to be talking about. That is a simple fact. That will be true. You will also motivate your team. Okay. This is something that everybody in the clinic can get involved with, no matter what the position in the business is. And I think it will be a real morale booster for a lot of clinics to be able to proudly have the badge on their website. We're a Net Zero Dentistry clinic, and it's something we're passionate about. As a follow-on from that, the patients are going to see that, and as you mentioned, we're no longer the bad guys. We're actively making a difference. We care about our community. We care about our patients. We care about our planet. So other than, just the pure and simple, yes, we want to make a difference for the planet, I think the knock-on effect for this and the mental health elements of this are huge. And it's exciting. The people we've been speaking with, wonderful group of people who are all passionate and wanting to share and wanting to actively get involved. And some of them are saying, I've got loads of commitments, I can only do a little bit. And other people are giving us loads of stuff. And that's how it's going to build. So even if you can do a small thing, as we've said, get involved, get active, and, we will make a difference. This is going to happen. So be part of it.
Big parts of it, and including the trade as well. There's a huge part the trade can play in being involved in this, and then encouraging and passing it on and paying it forward to their family members, their spouses, everyone. It can definitely have a ripple effect. Marcus, anything to share, my friend?
Yeah, we've talked through the business aspects of Net Zero Dentistry in a clinic. Mike touched on the dental dinners. We actually have a full programme, again touching on the mental health issues. The pressures on everyone in the clinic just now, in that we have an active session in there. So people that have cycle to work, people that run to work, people that simply walk to work because they're not able to run or cycle to work. So doing those small things is another big important step. So we've gone into the personal side. The dental dinners is going to be a big laugh. It really is. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then we've got a gardening section to grow your own vegetables, to grow your own flowers, to grow your own whatever. And then the exercise, the getting yourself back to fitness, both mentally and physically. So I think the result of engaging is a very positive one.
Well, I would like to publicly commit to something as part of my thank you for sharing this. I'm going to publicly commit to walking to work. I don't live very far away from work, but I still drive. So here on out, I'm going to commit to walking to work after our discussion today. So thank you. And that's me doing one thing, small thing, and hopefully will lead to having those conversations in practice. So please do hold me accountable. My wife will love that. I actually could use the exercise as well. So you guys have done it. You've inspired me to walk to work. And if you're someone who can do that, or just like you said, run or bike, I think you should. And it's not just reducing the stereo pouches. It's far bigger than that. You immediately think all the plastic, the microbrushes, but there's so much more we can do as humans, not just dentists.
Yeah, and even if you don't live close enough to your work that you can walk all the way, park half a mile, park a mile away from the clinic, shave that off the journey, and you're reducing 10 miles a week off your journeys and getting the exercise. So there's lots of little ways around this as well. But that's excellent. We want some photographic proof, otherwise it didn't happen.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I love that. And it will happen. Accountability is everything. No, gents, thank you so much for sharing your time in this initiative. I want to plaster this everywhere. I'd love to put it on the website. I'd love to put it on the blog. I want to email everyone. I want to get people talking about this. And if you're listening, you've been inspired by Marcus and Mike, please do reach out to them, reach out with them with love, with ideas, with suggestions, with criticisms. It's okay. If you think there's a different angle they need to take, tell them. I know Mike, and he's a very open man. He's going to listen to you, and together you seem like you guys have got the heart for it. So, gents, thank you so much for starting Net Zero Dentistry, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And maybe let's do a follow-on, maybe a year and a half's time, to see what changes, what you've done, what we've accomplished. That'll be wonderful, I think.
Excellent. That sounds perfect. And please do follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and the website. We've not mentioned the website name. It's www.NetZeroDentistry.com.
Amazing. I'll get that all in the blog post as well. So yes, have a lovely rest of your weekend, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So there we have it, guys. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to commit to today? Let me know. Share it on your Facebook or Instagram story. Tag Protrusive Dental. Tag Net Zero Dentistry. Let us know what are you going to do to make sure that we can be greener as a profession and greener personally. Thank you so much for listening to this really, really important episode. I really appreciate it.